what is success to me is helping them tap into what's driving them, what's going on underneath the surface, that I want people to be emotionally, spiritually, psychologically healthy, whole, and digging into those things.
Your success. That feels good for me to be successful. But what feels better, I bet, to you, Jesse, is when we are successful. You're watching somebody else find success and thrive.
Success is that we're a team. Success is that we are moving forward together. My wife and I are very different. She's a feeler. I'm a thinker. She's intuitive. I'm sensatory. But me, success is that she's heard and I'm valuing her differences.
Hey friends, welcome to the Primal Question podcast. I'm Mike Foster. And our goal here is just to talk about the thing underneath the thing that drives everything. And that is your primal question, which really a way to think about it is the need, the most core apex need that you have that drives your life. And when that need is met and fulfilled, you are your best self. And when that need goes unmet, or you get a no or a maybe to your primal question, life can get very challenging. And so today we're going to talk about question 5, with primal question 5, which is the question, am I successful? And I'm joined today by my new friend, Jesse. Jesse, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
So success and the question, am I successful? You know, I've learned about this one when I was doing the research around for the book and the just this particular question. There tends to be a lot of judgment around people who have the need for success. Have you kind of felt that way? Like when you think, maybe even when you got your results, talk to me about, like, do you ever feel like, oh man, I wish I didn't have the need for success and yet here we are?
Yeah, the stereotype of like the CEO, the successful person that's just driven and causes problems wherever they go, or they're just not thoughtful or of people. So yeah, when I took the test and got my results, I was like, I don't think I want to be that guy, but maybe I can be a great version of that guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I think there is a stereotype, a negative stereotype of a successful person not being kind.
Yes. A lot of misunderstanding around that question and that need. But the thing that I love about Q5s, the Ryan, who is in charge of everything Primal Question for the work that I do, he's my CEO of the company. He's a Q5. And what I love about Ryan is that I know my company is going to be successful because he has a PhD in success, because he's been studying it from early childhood. He understands what it takes to be successful. He knows how to win and achieve. And these are such beautiful, and it's not sort of like we just want to make more money or to, win for win's sake, but it's like, I believe the work that we're doing is important. And I want a Q5, at the helm, because they know how to get things out there and to make things great. And so talk to me how your Q5, that this sort of question of, am I successful? How does that play out in work and are you married? Okay.
17 years, 4 kids.
Okay.
Fostering
great.
a kid right now.
Oh, fantastic. So we've got lots of areas to explore how this expresses itself. So talk to me how this question, am I successful, influences how you do work.
Yeah. To me, a breakthrough was realizing that things that can tend to not be important, like rest or time with family or prayer, or those things that can feel like they're just a waste of time. I came to realize that those are important for my success.
Yes.
So I need to value those things that seem like they're not important to a successful life. And so I think that one of the things that's been helpful for me just in my own personal life is to figure out, when I get to the end of my life and I look back, what is going to make me most successful, not from the world standards, but from what is successful, from I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor. And so from a faith perspective, but also just what's important in life. And so, so I think that's one important thing. And then also, I agree. I am not an ENFP. I'm not a visionary. I like to galvanize. I like to make sure things are excellent and successful in that kind of a way. And so, I'm a great partner with visionary people who can like dream up great ideas. And then I'm like, I know how to like get that thing done.
Yes.
And so I've learned to like work with teams well and those kind of things.
That's so awesome. And like, that's why it's so unfortunate when people sort of judge or label success in a negative way or this question in a negative way, because you are, as a Q5, the greatest partner. As I look at Ryan as the CEO of my company, he is the greatest partner because he can take ideas and concepts and explode them. He may not come up with the ideas and concepts, and he certainly is a creative guy and talented in many ways, but that Q5 of knowing how to make something successful, how to maximize an idea is such a powerful gift that you bring to everyone that you're interacting with. So talk to me how this plays out. We talked a little about kind of work and taking ideas and projects and like making them successful. Talk to me how this plays out in your marriage.
Success is that we're a team. Success is that we are moving forward together. My wife and I are very different. She's a feeler. I'm a thinker. She's intuitive. I'm sensatory. Just like we're very different. But for me, success is that she's heard and I'm valuing her differences and I'm not trying to make her be like me. So I think I want our family, our marriage to be successful. And so I've had to redefine success, I think, from what maybe people think it looks like to be successful as like the head, the leader, the whatever, to valuing the whole. And that's success.
Yeah. So one of the things we talk about around our primal question is the scramble. And the scramble is what happens when we get a no to our primal question. So when you are not feeling successful, almost another way to put it is when you feel like you're losing. Okay. What does Jesse do in those moments? What does that feel like? And I don't need to say like, hey, I show up really this amazing. Like, what does the downside of your scramble look like?
It's hard for me to engage with people that are less productive. And so I'd say like in my worst moments, like I have a face, like a look that, or like a tone that I can put onto my wife or to my kids to diminish them, to make them feel like they're idiots or they're dumb or like, and so, or with coworkers like that, I can feel, like I'm smarter, I'm better, whatever than other people. And so, that's, where I go to where I'm, in an unhealthy place. And I've been called out on that. And I try and work on that and try and have better facial tones and expressions.
So talk to me about that, because that is a very much in the research, this, I don't want to say judgment because that's not the right word, but as when you're putting strategies together for success, there is like, Q5s don't like lazy people. Q5s don't like excuses. Q5s like activation and ownership and, charging the hill, but not everybody is wired that way. So what do you do when that?
Part of the job of a pastor is to be compassionate and empathetic and like for all kinds of people.
The feeling side of it, which tends to be more question 3, am I loved? And question 4, am I wanted?
So part of what I do is I'm like, that's not my gifts and strengths and talents. And so how do I build a team that can do that? And so we have kind of like a lay counseling ministry called Soul Care at our church, that actually part of their training is Rescue Academy, to prepare them for that. Some of them are licensed therapists, but others just are not. And so, one of the ways that I have, in practice, like when someone is coming that like is struggling in life, and I'm like, I'd rather spend time with leaders who are getting things done, who are like going to go forward with me and accomplish the mission. I'm like, we've raised up a great ministry for you, people that will care for your soul and be merciful and stuff like that. So yeah, that's one way of like, I want to live to my strengths and my talents and my gifts and not but there's people that are great at the things that I'm not great at. And so how can I not, it also doesn't give me the right to be a jerk, right? Or to not be compassionate.
Right.
Just because I'm like not necessarily great with people who are lazy doesn't mean I have to like just dismiss them. And so I need to also care for them as well. So those are some of
That's good.
the things.
I think you bring up a really good point, because I think sometimes, I don't know, this may be a small critique about the Enneagram, though I love the Enneagram, is sort of when you know your number, it sort of becomes an excuse of why you have all the downsides of your life and the way you interact with people as sort of an excuse for my bad behavior. Okay. And this is just the way I am.
Totally.
But that Primal Question doesn't approach it that way at all. We say, okay, success is important to me. Performance is important to me. Winning, achievement, those are things that I enjoy, that I'm good at. I know how to bring it out in other people. But that doesn't give me an excuse to not be empathetic or loving or create safety. Or some of the other questions, I still need to be aware of that. And I still want to show up as a compassionate human being. Okay. And not just say like, accept me for who I am. I'm just this success guy and I can just be a jerk to anybody. And I think that's unfortunately when maybe some of the judgment that we talked about earlier around success, it's because we operate in that way of just, you have to just accept that I'm a cold-hearted results guy. Okay. But you're not. You're just, when you're in your scramble, you could be that way. But you have the ability to see the bigger picture when you're living in your primal truth, which is really taking our question, am I successful, and turning to a statement, I am successful. Talk to me about the difference of how you show up when you are getting all those yeses to your question and you're feeling successful and you're achieving. What does that look like for you? Like, how do you feel? What are we going to see in Jesse when he's getting a big yes to his primal question?
That's what I love. That's my sweet spot. That's the thing that gives me life. Individuals or teams of people. I love making disciples. That's Jesus' way of putting it. I like developing leaders. That's kind of a leadership framework. But yeah, when people are wanting to accomplish goals or a project or a conference or whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish, and I have a team of people who kind of all know their unique strengths and gifts, and we're accomplishing those things, like that gives me life. I love leaving a meeting where everyone knows what they're supposed to do and they're ready to like figure out their part and then bring it back to the team, and we're all feeling good about our role in the large thing. So yeah, that I also work with people that are struggling in life. And I love watching people transform and believe and see shame breaking over their life. Like those things give me an incredible amount of joy as well. So I feel very accomplished when people who have made a wreck of their life are beginning to put things back together. So yeah, those are a couple.
One of the things that's part of the Q5 profile is they just make great coaches. And it sounds like what, pouring into leaders, helping, counsel, coach, strategize, that's all part of kind of who you are and what you love to do. Because it isn't about you. It's not about your success. That feels good for me to be successful. But what feels better, I bet, to you, Jesse, is when we are successful, or you're watching somebody else find success and thrive. Again, you putting your primal question, we call it the primal gift, take your question you put over everybody else and assume they're asking the same question. And you're going to come alongside and say, I'm going to help you be successful. I want to answer if you're wondering if you're successful, I'm going to show you how to do it. And I just think about the value around that in organizations and teams, and especially like the deep spiritual work that you do with people, where they're coming in and they actually feel like they failed.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like they're a mistake. They feel like they can't do anything right. And then here comes Jesse. So what would you say as a Q5 to people who feel like failures right now?
Yeah. To people who feel like failures, I would say that there's always hope. And I would say that God forgives all people and God loves all people. Like those are my go-to, like for people that are like really struggling in life, like that whatever shame or things that you're feeling, like Jesus can transform those things. And so, yeah, that's what I would say. But I think when it comes to like the primal questions and like working with people, just for example, last night I asked my wife and her mom, who were sitting on the couch, I just read the primal questions to them. And they, and like my wife is adopted and her mom is adopted. And so, am I good enough and am I wanted were the two primal questions of my wife and her mom. And they just like, I just read them the questions cold, like they didn't know anything about it. And they just started crying. And so I think for me, value, like when I come alongside people wanting to, what is success to me is helping them tap into what's driving them, what's going on underneath the surface, that I want people to be emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, healthy and whole and digging into those things. And so, so I see to me, success is valuing the person and whatever is driving them and underneath the surface for them. And so
that's so good. I love that you guys had that moment last night, and that happens so often where, you're going through the questions and you either hear your question or you see your question, and there's this visceral response to it. It's a very deep emotional response to it. And I'm not here to, toot my horn, but really what it is, I think it's finally having the language to describe something that I've felt my entire life. Right. And what's powerful about that is we can then, that revelation, that understanding now, we've like blown away the fog, turned up the lights. Okay, it's clear the power of the application now and the next steps and seeing why things are the way they are in my life or why I believe certain things about who I was. You are probably going to be this. Hey friend, you and I have a hidden force driving our lives. It drives our choices, our behaviors, our triggers, our relationships, and even our strengths and our gifts. And most of us have no idea what it is or how to control it. And this hidden force is an unmet emotional need. There are 7 of them, and I call them the 7 primal questions. And when you don't know your primal question, it can wreak havoc on your life because people will do whatever it takes to meet this need. And we can even try to meet that need in some pretty unhealthy ways. But when you identify your core emotional need, a lot of things begin to make sense. And you'll have the clarity to meet emotional needs for yourself and others in much healthier ways that have far-reaching effects on your life and your relationships. Take 5 minutes to discover your primal question today at primalquestion.com. An incredible resource to them to come alongside them, because you're this natural coach, facilitator, maximizer to take that revelation and now turn it into application.
Clarity is very helpful.
Yes.
And so like knowing that my wife's desire is to be wanted is very helpful. I can do stuff with that.
Yes.
So yeah, that clarity and that simplicity of what her deepest needs are and what is very helpful. So yeah, I can work with that.
Does she know your primal question?
Yeah. So part of the conversation was like, what do you think I am? And we went to 7, but the test told me 5. Yeah. And so, but she wouldn't be surprised. I'm a very driven, do it, successful kind of person. Yeah. At least in the things that I think are successful. That may not look like success to other people, but.
Well, it sounds like you have a very healthy understanding of success. You've defined it in a way that again, lean into that definition of success. I think what happens is a lot of times the definition of success gets informed by society, culture, numbers, money, size of our bank account, size of our house. All that's just a absolutely horrible way to define actual real success.
Yeah.
But certainly that is the scramble of success. Like this is how I'm going to get my yes, is I'll go make a lot of money, or I'm going to get my yes by having everybody admire me and think I'm this amazing leader. Yeah. Instead, you have come at it from a very, again, your faith clearly has informed a lot of your definition around success. So what does success look like for you as a Q5? Have you given like clarity to that concept?
Yeah, I think we try to think of the language. We become lifeguards from the beach we're rescued at. But yeah, I just finished defending a doctoral dissertation last week, and so I'm very happy. That's a success.
Like you're a doctor?
As of a week from yesterday ago.
Okay,
so
from
Fuller
Jesse.
Seminary.
Like this, okay, fantastic.
Which for a successful driven person, like I don't want to toot my own horn, but it definitely feels good to get that done.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a sec. Why not just lean into the fact that you are successful there? Why the resistance to like?
Sure, I love it, and I did it to be a better pastor, to be to keep my mind growing, to pick a topic that was important, that was relevant, that the church needs to speak to. And so all of that to me is just success in and of itself. And so
why tamp that down? Like, are you afraid it's prideful? Do you feel like it might be, you're boasting about your accomplishments? Why the tension there of just saying, hey, I got my doctorate, I'm a PhD.
I don't know. I guess I need to chew on that.
Yeah.
I love it, and I'm grateful that it's done. But I don't want it to like be a badge of honor or like a reason that people like feel like they can trust me or listen to me. But it feels good to be done. Yeah. After a 4-year program.
Okay. Well, not to get too deep into the weeds on this, but this is where we talked about the judgment that comes around success. And so often Q5s will sort of deny the facts of who they are and what they can do and the contributions that they have and can make to something because they don't want to be judged in a particular way around who they are and really around their accomplishments. And what I would encourage any Q5, including you, is embrace it. It is a part of you. It's a good part of you. It's a positive thing that doesn't need to be hidden or denied or tamped down. Because, like, I'll just give you an example. Me learning that you are a PhD or a doctor, that doesn't push me away. That actually makes me want to lean in. It's like, oh man, if I have a theological question or something, I should call Jesse because he has this expertise around something. But I understand that tension, right? Because it does get judged sometimes or misunderstood if you were just say, hey, I'm a doctor. I have an expertise in I did my dissertation in this. Come talk to me.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you feel that tension?
Yeah, especially in the church. Like, I don't want to be the guy who's seeking platform, like pastor with sneakers, whatever it is. Like, so I'm just, that there's an Instagram page on that. So I guess I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. And so, but what does it look like for me to lean into my, that success is something that I'm wired for and that is good for me. And so, so I think I'm figuring that out.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I always encourage people to do, because really what we're talking about is your primal gift, right? You have insights, you have skills, you have a PhD, you have the ability to know how to win and grow teams, and all of these are good things. And not only do you need to be aware of that, but I need to be aware of that so I know how to who I need to come to when I have a particular challenge, or I need, if I was your boss, I'm not your boss, but let's say I'm the CEO of my company, like I would want to know where to put this Q5 primal gift into my organization. Because maybe I've got you, I don't know, now I'm making myself a senior pastor of a church. I've got Jesse at the front door doing the welcome center and doing all these relational things and all these things that I think would be great for a very empathetic person and a good listener. And it's like, no, Jesse's a Q5.
Yeah.
I need to have him in my strategy meetings.
Yeah.
I need to have him, if I got a problem in the organization, I want him to go in and tackle that. But if I don't know that about you because you're denying this really powerful gift of success and knowing how to be successful, that doesn't help the whole.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for organizations and for teams, the Primal Questions is helpful in its own unique way. Cause like the other personality assessments and all those things, I think hit on like our strengths or different things, but this is like, what do we need? Like what's driving us? And so I think, our church staff needs to go through it. We need to know each other's deepest needs and what makes us feel accomplished and stuff. So
it's a great way to organize gifts.
Yeah.
And because what I like to say is you have a PhD in success. I have a PhD in safety. My primal question is, am I safe? Somebody's going to have a PhD in love because their primal question is, am I loved? And let's utilize those strengths for the greater good.
Yeah.
Instead of, like if there's chaos, there's conflict, bring Mike in because that's what he's good at. But if you need somebody to be loved up or find purpose or be successful, I'm probably not your guy. So leave me out of that meeting.
Totally. I mean, knowing yourself and knowing each other is incredibly helpful to be successful.
Yeah. So I want to come back to just in kind of our closing minutes here. Your wife's primal question of, am I wanted?
Yeah.
When she heard that, she had a visceral response to it. When you had that clarity about her, what did you think?
I want to know that she's wanted by me. And so how can I be a husband that meets that, answers that question? Yeah. Yeah. So it's very helpful. I mean, honestly, it really is great.
I bet you could probably look back on your history in terms of conflict or broken connection with your wife. I would imagine those things are happening because you are accidentally answering her primal question with a no.
Certainly. She wants me to pursue her. She wants to hear words of affirmation and love, not just one time a day, but regularly. And so I think also she wants to be seen. Like, I don't know if that's how close that is to wanted.
It's very much connected to question 3, am I loved?
Yeah.
Being seen and heard and listened to. But again, you're right in that area of love, wanted. They tend to bleed over on it. It's what I call the satellite question. So you'd have your Q4, am I wanted? But being seen and heard is part of the Q3, which was probably most likely her satellite question.
Yeah. Again, very helpful. And I feel like I've been married 17 years and we want to be healthy in all the different ways. But just to have the clarity around that simple thing, last night was definitely a visceral moment for her, confirmation for me. And then, so how do I continue? And we love each other. We have a great marriage. Like I intuitively know those things about her, but yeah, we have a big change coming up where our family's moving to Guatemala actually.
Oh, wow.
In about 5 months. And with a huge transition coming, wanting all of my kids and my wife, I feel like all of us should probably take the assessment, like as we go through a major transition, like what does that look like, to know what's underneath the surface for all of them. And so anyways, all kinds of things we could talk about.
Really? Yeah, absolutely. So just thinking about, just in these last minutes, the whole idea of a big transition coming up, and really whenever we have these sort of high stakes decisions, which is clearly a high stakes decision, we're putting our primal question at risk. We're putting it out there in a very vulnerable way. Probably the life that you've been doing, or kind of when things are, in I don't want to say your comfort zone, but you figured out how to do this life in San Diego.
I've been at that church 12 years.
Right.
So I kind of know how it goes.
You know how it goes.
Yeah.
You got that dialed in, but now you're like, okay, am I successful? Am I going to be successful? Is this, that's a vulnerable place to be. So what are you thinking about in terms of this big transition?
Yeah. These kinds of questions of like, what do my kids need? What do my wife need? And so like, what is their primal question? What are they going to need to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel like they have purpose? Like all of these things, I want to help. What looks like success for me is that they are tapping in, they're like having clarity and tapping into those things. So our big prayer request when people ask is like, I'm praying that my kids sense like this is good for them and they're excited about this. But I'm a coach, and so how do I help them discover those things and stuff? And so the primal questions will be very helpful.
How old are your
in
kids?
The transition? 7 to 13.
Yeah.
That's like the age range.
Not too young to start identifying the primal question, because as a parent, man, as soon as you know what the question is that your child is asking, you can just affirm it with all kinds of yeses and speak to it specifically. Now, all 7 questions are important. They all represent needs that we have as human beings. Right. But for you to dial in with your kids' primal question, especially in this transitional season, is powerful, because it will be the core thing that they want to know. So if they're Q1, am I safe? You're going to need to talk a lot about the safety, that they're protected, that you've got this, you're looking out for them, they're going to be okay. If it's, I don't know, love, maybe you're, or even wanted, right? It's like, hey, we're not going to lose, we're in all the busyness of this move and all the moving parts, we're not going to lose sight of you. You're going to be a part of this. And so it's just a great way to parent.
Yeah. For families, so helpful.
Well, Jesse, thank you for just giving us great insight to this question. And I love talking to Q5s, because again, there's, I think, so much misunderstanding, and you have just brought so much clarity. And congratulations on your doctorate.
Thank you.
Be proud of that, and let us all benefit from just your wisdom and insight and all that hard work. And thank you for the work that you do to help people too. It's inspiring, and I love that you have been serving so incredibly well the past 12 years, but now starting this whole new season. I hope it's an amazing success for you.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
In the months and years to come.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Primal Question podcast. I hope you've learned something new about your primal question, or maybe the primal question of someone you know. If you think this episode would be helpful to a friend, I encourage you, please share it. Let people know about the podcast and how it's impacted you by sending a link to a friend. If you're ready to take the next step in your own self-discovery journey, I invite you to visit primalquestion.com/podcast. That's primalquestion.com/podcast for additional free resources and to explore the opportunity to work one-on-one with a Primal Question coach. Also, for those of you who feel a calling to guide others on their journey, there's information available about how you can become a certified Primal Question coach yourself. It's a powerful way to transform lives, including your own.